Hello friends, it's Julie, and today we're going to do a Q&A video. Just a historical note that today is the day after my 50th birthday, so now I'm on the road to being 51. And over the weekend, I haven't gone there yet because I'm pre-recording this video, but I'm going to stay at a bed and breakfast in Cody, Wyoming. I met these people when I was in Yellowstone last year, and the thing that attracted me to this was this. He was selling this book in the lobby of Old Faithful Inn, and I got to talking to him, and he said that he has thousands and thousands of ephemera, and he said, anytime you want to come and look through them. And so I'm going to be there and talk to him, and maybe I'll be able to share some of that with you. We'll see. All right, so on to the Q&A. So this is from about the last month or so-ish of questions that I've gotten on comments. Also, by the way, I have a very small Facebook group of people, like-minded people, resellers of ephemera, either online or in the booths. And if you'd like to join, please do. It's not like a highly busy group because we've got less than 100 people, but if you join, we have one more. And it's kind of fun. It's a good group and actually kind of interesting. I've noticed there's a lot of women that speak out there, more than I've seen on YouTube and other stuff, because I think as women we're not as numerous as the men who sell postcards, although I could be wrong. So anyways, let me know if you see more women or men postcard and ephemera sellers. Okay, so the first video that I'm responding to questions is sourcing postcards to sell on Poshmark. And the first one is from Thrifty Gal Collectibles. And she asks, do you write on the back of your postcards for your booth? Do you have them separated in any sort of way, or are they all just mixed together? And you mentioned that you researched the cancel. Do you mean the city it was canceled from, or the actual cancel, like flag cancel, or the style of cancel? Okay, a lot of questions here. Now, I did respond back to all these people. I don't remember exactly what I said, so my answers might vary slightly, but anyways, who's gonna catch that? All right, so first of all, do I write on the back of the postcards for my booth? I have started to do that because the postcards that I put in my booth are only priced about $1 to $2, mostly $1. And if I put a sleeve and a sticker on it, it reduces the profit margin. Not that they're that expensive, but when you have thousands in your booth and maybe the sleeve costs 5 cents each, you can see the math there. And I know that I do sleeve some of them, like if they have glitter or if they seem fragile and stuff, but that's just the way I've gone. Now, if I was going to price them individually for what I want to sell them for, like if I had $5 cards or $10 cards, I would definitely sleeve them all up. Okay, do I have separated? Yes, because I have thousands of them. I do have them separated in different orders. It's the same way as I do it in my eBay shop. I have categories, and I do that because it all makes sense the way I sort them, that if they're all in the same order and the same method, then it's just easier for me. And I do also do sort this way before I scan my postcards for eBay too, and that's the way generally that I list them. In that order. I do categories, and then I do U.S. states, and then international. One reason why I list them in that way is there is a benefit from that if I have lost a postcard and I can't find them, I can usually go through and say, okay, if it was a Minnesota postcard, I know that generally if I go in that order, here are where the Minnesota postcards in. So then I don't have to search through every postcard. I can generally go through the order of, okay, Maine, whatever, Massachusetts, Minnesota. I know that's not the order of the states, but then that way it's a little easier to retrieve the postcard if I can't find it. For some reason, I got the SKU wrong. Okay, and the next question from her is, do I research the cancel? When I research, do I mean the city? I just basically mean the cancel that the post office puts on, which is basically the city or the zip code, the area. There's several of them actually in some cities. And there are some times where there's a special cancel where they'll say buy war bonds, or don't forget the lost children or something like that on there. Those generally I don't mention. I know there's some of them that have like the expositions on there, the world fairs, but it's the ones that I'm really looking for are the post office cancels, the rare ones of mostly places that are not there anymore. And along with that, video was Suya Smith. I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. Please correct me. It's Suyes Smith, and asked, what is a junk journal? All right. So junk journals originally started as things that are made out of junk, and basically junk mail, and you put it together and you put the pages together in a booklet form, and you either staple them or sew them or whatever. You make some kind of binding. So basically you're making a handmade journal out of junk. It's a great way to recycle. It has since evolved into things that people will use other things, like you can make a journal out of a cereal box, a box of tissues, or you could just buy all your stuff. You can buy printables. So it's kind of exploded in popularity. And if you, as an ephemera seller, you're going to come across this term a lot because there are a lot of people who love to do this. I do myself because I love the idea of being able to recycle things and use them in a neat way. This is one of the ones that I've recently made out of things that I got in the mail in the month of January. And yes, some of these papers are not like junk mail papers. They are actually things people sent me. So, but just to show you that there were some book pages. And this here was a paper from, I think, my insurance company that I covered up and I made a pocket out of. Here, if you recognize this is envelope, inside a business envelope. There's actually quite pretty patterns. Some more things here. I think there's an envelope that I kind of grunched up to make it look a little more vintage. This piece of handmade paper. Again, we've got papers that came in the mail off of envelopes and other sheets that I just used. There's another part of some documentation I received, part of a catalog. I use this one because it's not glossy, it's more matte, and I like that feel better. And such like that. So this is just one example. This is a very small one. There was a fold out in one of my, I think it was an insurance paper or one of my investment notices. And just, this is all just made from stuff that was free. And the envelope, the mailing envelope is the cover. You can see the manila thing. So that's just one example. And another one that I've done, I started to make these mini postcard journals out of postcards that I would basically put in my booth for $1. So to me, they're not worth much. And just out of little found objects, papers, and just things that people would normally throw away. And then I am also doing these. These are tiny. These are about this little smaller than the size of a cigarette box of cigarettes. And the reason I'm making these is that I am calling these my postage stamp books because they are small, and they're also basically made out of junk mail and little found papers and stuff. You can see here if I can show you here. This is from an envelope that I received, and there's like some postage stuff. And the reason I'm making these is for an art project, and I might tell you about that later, but I might put that on my more of my crafting channel. Okay, this channel started with junk mail, with paper planning, and it evolved into what it is now today. And I'm not going to make this channel go back to paper planning because I'll lose everybody that's here now, and it's hard to rebuild that. But anyways, sometime I'm going to make a list of my links. Okay, so the next video is what sold the international postcards. I had a couple questions. Again, Suya Smith asked, what do you do with the postcards that I don't list? Okay, so when I go through a postcard and I want to make the most use of the postcard value-wise as I can. First, I want to see if it's going to sell on eBay for about $10 or more. And then if I don't think I can make it that way, then I'm going to sell it in my shop booth and put it in between $1 and $2 usually. And if they're really not something that I think somebody's going to buy, then I'll either put it in my box for... Okay, my camera just blinked and I think I lost some of that. But anyway, so after I use them as a bonus card. I might also use them as junk journal stuff for either my own crafting or for selling in a lot to somebody else. So in some ways, everything gets used, especially the damaged ones are really good for junk journalers too. And you could create a listing on eBay of called hurt postcards or damaged postcards that are just good for junk journaling. If you want to sell it that way too, they would probably have to go really cheap. Okay, next question is from that What Sold video is from Jungle Man 49, and he says, I have a lot of international postcard listed but haven't figured out international shipping. Shipped to the UK last week and it cost me $19.02, but I received 620 cents in income from them. There were 4 postcards with a value of $39, so I still did make some money. Question is, would you take them to the post office and ship them individually with a USPS international stamp for $1.55, or do you use global shipping that is so high that you eBay global shipping that is so high that you would probably not make the sale? So what I do internationally, generally all I do is put an international postage stamp on them. When you have 4, it may bump you up to a package rate. It depends on how thick and how many ounces. I think with 4, you still might be able to get away with being an envelope, but you need to actually also add protection. $19 is a lot. So if you could have just done 2 packages of 2 each, that's what I would have done. It also depends on what the buyer chooses for their method. If you have a couple of options, you could let them choose the basically, $2 or $3 for postage stamp, or do the $20 or whatever for the global program. So a lot of postcard people do just a stamp on an envelope, not on the postcard, and that's pretty acceptable. And I've only had one or two go astray international, and one of them showed up a little bit after that I had refunded the person. All right, then the last one from that video is from 3Wheeler624, and the question is, thank you for a good video, interesting international or postcards. Any experience with postcards made in the USSR during the 1980s? Have a great week. I have sold some USSR postcards, but I don't recall if they were from the 1980s. I think one was, but I think I just priced them standard price. I do international ones. It did sell. I think it's in a What Sold video way back. I don't remember which one, but it's not something I specialize in. But if I come across it, I will usually list it because they do have interesting postcards. And that 1980s was during the Cold War, so I can see the collectability of that. Okay, the next video that I have a question on is the real photo postcards or not, and this is from Ann Ross 5362, and these are all recent questions to sometimes older videos. Okay, she asked, if we need to use a jeweler's loop, what strength is best for real photo postcards? Okay, in the video I used a scanner and my zoom feature when I was looking at them, so I didn't use a loop in there. But what I do use for a loop is just a cheap one I got off of eBay. I think it was like $20 to $30. I didn't look at the strength, and I don't think you really need to have a strong strength loop. All you're looking for is to see if there's dots or is it smooth like a photo, and that's all you really need. If you really want to get into more detail, most likely the person you're selling to probably won't see that detail that you're seeing. Okay, the next video is comes from Decluttering My Hoarded Office, and this is from Ashley Duvall, and she says, how long are you leaving things listed before I decide to pull it? And I did ask clarifying, do you mean my booth or eBay? And she meant eBay. What I have been doing is I have started, I'm coming up on my 3rd year of selling postcards, and I have come to this point where right now all I want is maximum 10,000 in my inventory. I know some of you guys think that's cute and very small, but to me I'm trying to be more picky about what I sell and have more quality than quantity. I know that sounds silly, that you're looking for less quantity when you have 10,000, but there are thousands and thousands of listings, maybe hundreds of thousands for some sellers. So what I have been going through is my old listings, because when I first started I didn't know as much, and I didn't know about pricing, and I thought cards might have been worth more than they were, and they've been sitting there for nearly 3 years. So I'm going through there and I'm either reducing them or taking them off. So that's kind of how I'm doing it now. So basically 2.5-ish years. And I know that some people don't ever take theirs off. But I feel like if I want to have just 10,000, I want every one of those to count and have them good. And most of the postcards are seller from the recent boxes. Okay, the next video that I have questions are on how to sell postcards in your antique booth. And Caroline Bruin has asked, actually it's not really a question, it's a comment. She would say that putting postcards into an acid-free sleeve is a good move because they protect the card from handling and tell a buyer that you would care about them and their preservation. I do agree with that, and like I said previously, these cards aren't worth a lot that I'm putting in there, so there's a little difference there. There's another comment about using a soft pencil to write the price with. Do not mark the card. It can't be rescued. It's the same with any ephemera, really, especially photographs. And so I responded to her and asked, so do you recommend them not writing in pencil on the postcards? And she says, it's a rock and hard place. So I just thought you guys might like this conversation. You have to put a price in the booth and that's necessary, and the booth number. It must be a soft pencil, but of course it's also easy to rub off. Sometimes there's not enough room to write on the back, it's so tiny. I also put a label on the acid-free sleeve with price and booth number and maybe a bit of info if there's space. So that is from a fellow booth person that they do not recommend writing in pencil. I have erased some of the old buyer or seller marks on my booth postcards simply because the prices might confuse, having two prices might confuse someone. And they really don't leave a mark unless they've pressed hard with a pencil. And the ones that I really, really don't like are the ones that actually use a pen on a postcard to write your price. Do not do that. Okay. So there are people that do it either way, and either one is acceptable as long as you're not permanently marring the postcard. Another question from Steve Helton, and he says, I'm not a dealer or have a booth, but buys through a local antique mall and has bought hundreds in albums and loose in boxes. And I add this because I forgot to mention albums. Some people will take those old photo albums and put the postcards in there, and that's another way to do it. As long as you don't have like thousands of them, that's a nice way to keep them safe. And do mark it on the card what the price is, not in the album, because somebody will pull the card out of the album because they want it and bring it up to the register, and it's like, well, how much was it? So just mark it on the card somehow, maybe if you have a sleeve or something. Spoken to a couple dealers that are receptive to the comments, and they asked his opinions when they saw that he was buying a lot. His concern is price stickers. Price stickers not equal. Some peel off easily, whereas others don't stick. Okay, I usually buy these stickers from Avery that are and come in those plastic packs. I get them at Walmart, and they're like little labels, and they are removable. I know that if you leave them on too long, they do leave a residue, but I wouldn't actually stick it on the actual item, but that's a good way to put it on. I do not mind lightly penciled marks, but use a soft leaded pencil. One dealer puts 8 postcards in a Ziploc type bag, stapled and taped, showing the picture side, front and back. 8 cards, $5. I suggested putting them in a box, start them at $2 to $3, and after 3 weeks lower it. Okay, so if you have thousands of postcards in your booth, it's probably the booth vendor is probably not going to be going back and lowering the prices, just unless they don't have very many. But yeah, it's a good point to mark them, and maybe if they've been there a while, bundle them up. I'm not a fan of sticking postcards in circular bowls, and that is the image that I put up there. And corners can be bent. And yeah, what I meant in that when I said, I did say lay them flat in a bowl, and then I showed a picture of it actually in a bowl that had curves. And so, yes, I agree with you. I did that one wrong. That if you're going to put it in a dish, make sure that postcards can lay flat and they won't get curled up on the edges. And so those are great thoughts. So additional information if you're going to put postcards in your antique booth. The next one that I had a question on was these postcards sold overnight, and I bought them off the rack. And this is from Marty T8184. I need guidance. I got some postcards of Greek Roman statues. They depict men with a wreath around their heads but no clothes. Some have fig leaves, but the male parts are clear and detailed. Can they be sold on eBay where they get pulled? And if not, what can I do with them? Okay, so I don't think there's a problem with them because they are art. And you can say, oh, people have postcards and images of all the time with people that don't have clothes on, which may be true, but you always want to go back to the eBay guidelines. Do they allow that? Do they not? Because just because somebody's getting away with it doesn't mean that you should try to get away with it, because you don't want to get dinged or suspended because of just a postcard. It's their rules. We have to play by them. But I have done postcards of art that had people unclothed or partially, because it's just the way art is, and it is in the art category. It's not a risque category, really. And I use the word nude, not naked, because nude is more of a refined word, maybe. So I would say you're probably okay, but you need to do your own research and how you think is good for your store. Okay, the last one that I have questions on is the video unboxing photo albums from an estate sale. And the first question is from Larry DeWine. It said comments on pictures that were taken to be passed down to family members and friends. How sad that a family loses a lot or maybe most of the family history. He has 83 albums and pictures just like this and feels, I'm going to paraphrase this, feels sadness that someone would be looking through it like me and going through it to see what they can make money off and dump the rest in the garbage. On the other hand, if it can be saved and passed on to people who'd appreciate it and see historical value of how people dressed, cars and homes, and be a good thing. He said, you have shown a caring spirit in regard to this family's personal things, so I commend you and hope that most of it can be passed on to the family. So yeah, that is also how I feel too. It's sad to me personally because I do the genealogy in my family tree. It's a fine line that you go through. I feel a little voyeuristic sometimes and a little like I'm exploiting things, but on the other hand, it's not being valued by the family. It's lost. And maybe if we treat them well enough, and they might make it back to the family, and there is to be continued after this next comment. The next question is from JungleMan49 and says, I had asked what that wooden punch was in there, and he said it was used to put a hole in milk can years ago. And and I asked him a little bit about it, so he further explained. Evaporated milk came in a tin can and used the punch to make a large hole, and across from that hole you would punch a small hole, so when you poured it out a large hole, a small hole would allow air in. This method was fast and easy. Electric can openers were not invented or affordable, and if they were, who had a countertop with electric on it? So that was nice because I remember my mom used to do that. She would take an old can opener. I think this is dating myself. I know Gen X. We would have those cans of Hawaiian punch juice, and she would only bring them on special occasions. And she would punch the hole in one side and the other side, so you would have that air hole so it would flow out. So that was really neat to know, and I actually should go back and revisit that and see if that's worth anything to sell. Okay, now I mentioned that I was going to continue that conversation about the photos because I got a message the other day from somebody on eBay who had seen that I had some photos from that album batch, and she said, hey, I see that some of these are from my family. Do you have some of the albums from the family, and would you sell them to me? So, because I didn't have them all listed yet, and I messaged her back, say I would love to do that. I could make you a deal, bundle them up. I haven't told her how much yet. It probably will be very little. And I mentioned that I linked her to the video. So she had several of the names that I mentioned in the video, and I am so happy because a lot of these are going to go back to the family because I'm more interested in them getting back to the family than making a profit on them. To me, that is just what ultimately I would like to see happen to most of the photos. So that was good news. A nice ending. It hasn't finished yet because I need to know more about which photos and stuff she's interested in. So that's another reason why I like to be careful on how I talk when I'm doing those videos and not be dismissive of things and such, because who knows, that family could come along and see it, and how would you feel if that was your family photos and somebody's like, oh, this person's ugly, this one is, I can't believe they did that. Just always be kind. Okay, so I'm going to go to lunch now. I'm going to hopefully have a fun weekend, hopefully have a great week, and have a joyful day. Goodbye.